I think a lot of the firehouses that have a good grounding of culture is because of the steps that are laid before them, and they still have a large contingent of senior men that are a big part of that department still.
And, I think when you're a new guy and you're learning all these people, you're learning like what pisses them off, what makes them tick, and what makes them crack jokes at you. You're trying to fit in.
Right.
And, as you get more comfortable, you see who they are and how they act. And maybe not as well. No, I think in the volunteers, I did the same thing. And I know for a fact when I got into the paid firehouse, I definitely did it. You know where you're going to go. Someday I'm going to be a lieutenant.
Right.
And you have 14 other lieutenants already. And they all have good and they all got bad. And you take the good and you like put it in a drawer. And you take the part that you don't like about them and you just say, I don't ever, I just don't want to ever do that.
I get it.
But you take all these guys that have taught you something good, and the senior guys, the ones that were never officers, and then the volunteers, you see a lot of, because it's so limited, a lot of these senior guys, officers turn over. It's not like they don't get promoted and then they stay that way until they get the next promotion.
Right.
It's the next election cycle. But you can still tell who the leaders are, and you do the same thing with them. Like you take the little bits that are good and the little bits that are bad. You take the little bits that are good and you save them for another time. And you try to consciously think about what would Captain Joe have done? What would Lieutenant Steve done?
Right.
And you kind of bring that out, and it works. And when I I was never a chief in the volunteers. I just never had the opportunity.
Right.
All the time, the first time I ever got to wear a white hat and actually stand outside and wish I was a fireman again was 15 years into my career.
Right.
And it was very awkward. But a lot of the guys that I was working with that are lieutenants now and stuff, most of us all came from the volunteers. It's no secret, And back in the old days it was, but it's no secret.
Right.
They were chief officers, so they kind of know what you're going through. Maybe they don't. Maybe it's not 100% the same, but the concept is still the same. Yeah, I still wish I was a fireman.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
I'm out here on the sidewalk watching them, but you can see, and maybe they bring their experience in the volunteers. They bring it into the paid, and I know in volunteers, I know a lot of the guys that are paid take it in there with them. They might be a lieutenant on the job, but they're just a fireman, just a fireman, like it's something, in the volunteer firehouse. And they still try to, you can see, they'll take the new guy, and it doesn't matter who it is or what you're learning, but they'll give them one little nugget, at least one little nugget on drill night. And that kid will always remember that.
That's right.
He will always remember that. Something insignificant that to us it's a no big deal.
Right.
A guy that's got 30 years,
Right.
it's no big deal. Yeah, I've done that a billion times. This kid is waiting for the time to do that, and that guy, whether he's an officer or not, will just take that one little nugget and give it to the kid.
Yep.
If you're ever in this situation, this is, I carry this because of that. Or, you're checking something and nobody taught the kid how to check the belt on a rotary saw. Chainsaw, everybody knows how to adjust the,
No.
but,
You hope.
but who knows how to check the belt tension?
You're right. You're right.
Somebody taught me that, and it wasn't a company officer.
Yeah.
It was just a senior fireman.
Absolutely. And I love, like, for myself, like, I have these little things that I do because I'm a very good judge of character, and I can read people very quickly and really understand how they need to be dealt with for the most part, and how to get the best out of them and so on. And inherently, it's just, I think you either have that trait or you don't. I don't think it's something you can learn. I think it's, somewhere deep down, a lot of firefighters are very similar in a lot of ways. We're born leaders we take initiative, and things like that. So, I can read my guys very well, and I have a couple different personalities on the firehouse. We all do. And the one kid, every time he's a college kid, so he's away at college, but when he comes home, he's really active, comes out everything he can. And every time I see him, I said, "What'd you learn? What'd you learn tonight?" It could be a fire alarm, it could be a CO alarm, it could be a pin job, it could be a fire, it could be just training. And we get back, and I go, "What'd you learn tonight?" And he's like, "Oh, Jay, I learned this, I learned that." I'm like, "Awesome." And then I don't even have to ask him anymore. Now we get back from the firehouse, and he looks at me and goes, "Jay, you know what I learned tonight?" "What'd you learn?" "Oh, I learned blah, 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 blah." And I'm like, "Awesome." Save that. Share it with the next guy.
Yeah.
And to me, I have another kid on my that I spent. We had a real bad snowstorm a few weeks back. We got 26 inches of snow. All the trees in town broke. People were out of power for days. Like, we were out running nonstop.
It's crazy.
It was crazy.
Absolutely nuts.
A lot of our guys work DPW and plowing, so a lot of them couldn't be a part of all the call running. So it was a dedicated group of like 8 to 10 guys that really ran the engine and truck that whole run. That whole stretch of calls. So I had, I'm an ex-chief and everything else. So I was driving the engine, and I had a bunch of new guys with me for the most part. A couple more senior guys, but mostly new guys. And I was trying to explain to them the topic of subtlety. Gotta be subtle. We talked our way into more runs that night, and we got ourselves into more mischief that night because I told the guys, and I taught them a very valuable lesson. It's all about being subtle. We can go in, we'll take care of what we have to do. We don't need to announce to everybody that we're doing this job and this and that. You do the right thing. As long as you have the greater good in the view, right? We could do a lot more. If just because we weren't assigned by dispatch to taking that job, if we're 3 blocks away, it's an EMS run. You know what? We can go help shovel that driveway out real quick, or we could do this, we could do that. And so we ended up doing that. And at the end of the night, the guys are cracking up. They go, "Jay taught us subtlety tonight. We learned how to be subtle. We learned how to, And for me, I love that. Like, I was cracking up because I'm like, yeah, guys, because there's a. Walk quietly with a big stick. Is that how it goes? Like,
Walk quietly to carry a big stick.
Yeah,
It's a
right?
Teddy Roosevelt quote.
Yeah, I mean, think about it, right? Like,
Tall.
you don't need to be out front with the big mouth all the time. You can sit back and still carry. And I think that's the senior man mentality.
Yep.
And so it's not so much as the senior man, teaching belt tension and the proper way to stretch off the rear, the working end of the engine, or things like that. But there's also that other thing, and it's that senior man mentality of teaching them the right way to do things.
Yeah.
And it could be as easy as, this is how we do it. This is the coffee we make, or this is how we greet people when they come in, or if somebody needs directions, I want you to be the first one to walk out onto that apron and give them the directions, to how to go somewhere. Like, be a leader, and I think that's all part of it. I think the senior man is such an important part of the firehouse.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
And I just don't want to see that craft get lost. And I think we're losing some of that. We're losing some speed on that. And maybe not so much the speed.
Hey everybody, it's Rob Ridley from National Fire Radio. Thanks for tuning in. Catch up with us on social media. We got
SoundCloud, National Fire Radio, YouTube, National Fire Radio, Instagram, National Fire Radio,
last but not least,
Facebook, National Fire Radio. Guys, check us out. Take care. Be safe.
See you later.